Welcome into the Paul Farrington Show, a Monday reaction show. We don't normally do these, but I'm just getting so excited about the football season coming around, and training camp reports are out, and the NFC North is on fire, of course, with all the storylines going on, the quarterbacks, the new additions, the new coaches. It's going to be a really fun division this year. Of course, it opens up with the Lions and the Packers and the Vikings and the Bears to start the season. So I can't wait for it, and we're supposed to have a show today. It'll just be me and Jack on that show, but I wanted to get an NFC North reaction video out right now, talking about what's going on at this point in time for all four teams at training camp. We'll keep it light. We'll keep it fun. Please remember, everyone, to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. Right now, we are at, let's give an exact count as of Monday morning, 19,735 subscribers. So quick math, 265 more to go until 20,000. That'll be pretty cool for us, hopefully, when we eventually get there. But again, the whole point of our shows is to have fun. We're not paying too close attention to numbers, even though we say it at the start of every single episode. Hope everyone had a great weekend. I hit Chris Stapleton, on Friday night at MSG with my dad, Jack, and our buddy Jordan. Unbelievable. If you haven't seen Chris Stapleton, if you're a fan, holy crap. I mean, he so effortlessly sounds unbelievable. I don't know how that sound comes out of a person's voice. And he's just standing there, mouth barely moving, and he's hitting these notes that just has no business hitting. Crazy fun concert. I feel like I've gotten all of my summer activities in over the past week and a half or so. Right after Stapleton, I just turned that into, I watched 4 movies this weekend, which normally I don't watch too many movies or TV shows. But Fantastic Four was awesome. As a big Marvel fan, that was nice to finally see them get back on track. I won't spoil anything, but I enjoyed that movie a lot. And I'm looking forward to Doctor Doom in Doomsday. Let me know in the comment section. If you're a big Marvel fan, let me know, because we're a pretty nerdy show. It's the glasses, the ear, we're a nerdy show. It's me, Zach. Zach's a huge Star Wars fan. Ziggy, obviously, with his philosophy and several other subjects. Jack, we have to work on a little bit more. But yeah, I thought Fantastic Four was really fun. Last night, I finally got around to Captain America: Brave New World, which has been out for a long time, but that was good too. Happy Gilmore 2, it was objectively pretty bad, but it was fun. You have to go into that with the right mindset of, this is not going to be, this is not going to be an Academy Award-winning movie here. It's far from it, but it was enjoyable. Scotty Scheffler was awesome in it. The bit about him going to prison, then I don't want to spoil things, but him going to prison was just so well written. That was awesome. And then Your Name. I watched a movie called Your Name, which is an anime film, which, if you've heard of it, I know Ziggy's talked a lot about Japanese movies on the show before. He's talking about a little, I don't know the right word for it, but his movies, I think, are a little bit more complicated to make than, well, maybe not. Anime's pretty complicated. Whatever. Your Name, anyway, is really good. If you haven't seen it, it is just an awesome movie about 2 people who are waking up in each other's bodies. It's kind of like Freaky Friday, but then just watch it. It's really good. All right. This is the point in the show where someone, usually Ziggy or Zach, would say, let's get on track here. So, NFC North training camp recap from the past few days. We'll call it a weekend reaction, but it's really since training camp started for all these teams. So I want to start with the Vikings, because this is, they're the team to me in the NFC North that you're circling and that you have to pay attention to most. I think the Bears are right behind them, and it's all because of the quarterbacks. And the Bears case, the new head coach and the quarterback combined. But in Minnesota, all eyes are on JJ McCarthy. And I'm going to talk a little bit about other stories as well. But every report coming out on JJ McCarthy right now is pretty much glowing. It all sounds great. And that is pretty terrifying as a Viking fan, because it's like I said last Friday with Justin Jefferson right before his injury, just kind of waiting for that horrible thing to happen. If you didn't see the reel I put out on Friday, I was seeing all the Vikings reports come out, and against training camp, everyone's going to say the best storylines. But to me, it just felt too optimistic. And I was about to tweet out, just waiting for the horrible news, but decided not to. Don't want to throw that energy out into the universe. I want to be positive. I've been working on that for you guys who've been watching the show. I've been working on being positive, which is hard as a Viking fan, but I wanted to do that. And I decided not to put out the tweet. And like 30 minutes later, you get the Ian Rappaport, Schefter, Vikings tweet out, Justin Jefferson has a hamstring injury. Mild one at that. So we can't get too worried, right? Because he's going to be out for a week or so. But those injuries always seem to linger whenever you have a receiver, especially receivers getting them. Like that's something that could carry into the season. And while I'm not super concerned right now, it just felt like one of those moments, and what I equivalated it to in the reel was when you wake up in the morning and like you stub your toe, or you spill your coffee on yourself, cut yourself shaving. Like a couple of those little things, you have to almost take a breath and say, all right, this is not happening today. Like we're not doing it this training camp. We're not going to have all these guys get hurt. Like let's just take a beat here before things get out of control. So that's why it's a little terrifying seeing all the great JJ McCarthy stuff, is because you get your hopes up, and then reality checks in when you line up across from 11 other dudes who are trying to get after you. It's a different world. And we've seen this before. I remember back in the Cousins days, and I thought Kirk was an awesome quarterback, but there were, you'd hear stories about how great the O-line was looking or whatnot. And then you start week one, it's like, oh, no, same story. So you need to see it really in game action before you believe it. But Alec Lewis put out an article on The Athletic this morning, saying that McCarthy's making all the throws. Most of us have probably seen the 60-yard bomb to Jordan Addison. There's concerns about JJ being able to throw deep, but it looked pretty good there. And most importantly, as Kevin O'Connell said, the difference between college football and the NFL are making those layered throws over defenders. And while we're not going to see highlight packages of that, particularly from training camp, that's something that JJ McCarthy's doing a lot of. And he talks about quite a few plays here where JJ's putting the ball really nicely over defenders, nice touch passes. It's not always about throwing it a million miles per hour, which we know JJ can do. So the more you see all of this stuff come together, and when you think about the Viking situation, we're looking for a quarterback to get the job done. We're not looking for Superman. That'd be great if JJ McCarthy can be like a Josh Allen or like a Lamar Jackson kind of engine. Those are absurd expectations that I'm not for a second saying is going to happen. But we just need someone to come in, and the way Jared Goff conducts that Lions offense is with maximum efficiency, right? He's not as good as Matthew Stafford was in his heyday in Detroit, but he's the right guy for this offense, and he gets the job done. That's what we need from JJ McCarthy. So as long as he doesn't completely implode, which is on the table, the Vikings offense should be very good. The Jordan Addison suspension won't help to start the season, especially building confidence early. But everything's there, and you're seeing the right signs from JJ. And Alec went on, he just said, the Vikings have gotten, and not to spoil his article if you want to see it on The Athletic, but Vikings have gotten in and out of the huddle on time. The operation at the line of scrimmage has been smooth. He used cadences Saturday to create a free play. QB coach Josh McCown patted him on the helmet afterwards. Processing the defensive picture hasn't been an issue either. He executed Saturday's red zone period as well as anyone could have hoped. Everything seems to be going well right now. Contradictory to what's happening in Chicago, which I'll get to a little later. Everything seems to be, and that's understandable, by the way. Everything seems to be going well in Minnesota. So from the mental side, from the physical side, JJ McCarthy seems to be, I don't want to say the real deal right now, but seems to be sufficient for what the Vikings need to do to be really good. And if he can be anything beyond Sam Darnold, now we're talking Super Bowl. Because Sam threw for 35 touchdowns last year. We were doing the all-time quarterbacks to throw for over 40 touchdowns on a show last week. There were 13 in the history of the league to do it. And Jack guessed Ben Roethlisberger, who was, his quarterback growing up. And Ben, I believe the most he ever threw for in a season was 34. So Sam Darnold threw for more touchdowns last year than Ben Roethlisberger ever did. I know there's an extra game, but still, like, to kind of put into perspective how great of a season Sam Darnold had. That's one statistic and one fun fact that I was like, wow. So if you want JJ McCarthy to be better than Sam Darnold, we're talking about an elite MVP near level season. So we'll get there. We'll see what happens. But all the signs really, really positive for JJ right now. I don't want this show to be too long because I do want to get it out there. Mondays when pads are going to be on for a lot of these North teams, so we're going to hear more storylines. It'd be nice to get this out a little earlier. So I'll try and keep this relatively reasonable because, as everyone knows, maybe a tendency to go on. Dallas Turner is one story that I'm very, very much intrigued by with the Vikings. The buzz is really starting to build up here because everyone's focusing on JJ McCarthy. When you talk about the Vikings defense, at defensive end, you also have Van Ginkel and Jonathan Grenard, two guys who were Pro Bowlers, two guys who actually received Defensive Player of the Year votes last year. So it's a crowded room to begin with already. But with Patrick Jones on his way to Carolina, opens up a spot for Dallas Turner, who, if you're calling him a bust, I just get really tired of people giving up on other people so quickly. Dallas Turner's 21, right? Last year. Like, come on. Let's give it a little time here. Dane Mitsutani of the St. Paul Pioneer Press said, the results couldn't be more clear with a simple look at Turner with training camp in full swing at TCO Performance Center. The muscle he has put on is noticeable, especially in his lower half, and he has managed to do it without sacrificing any of his explosiveness. Brian Flores and O'Connell both brought up too, like this is a dream for Vikings fans. If it, again, training camp, who knows? But if this is true, and we're going to see a Dallas Turner second year leap, adding him to those two guys I said before with the Defensive Player of the Year voting, it's going to make this defense really scary. And you're hearing Josh Metellus, who, congrats on the 3-year extension, well deserved for a guy who does it all for this defense. Josh Metellus said that this defense is entering its master stage. You throw in Dallas Turner, really motivated, high character guy, comes in here and can be a monster up front, play up to the first round pick that he was. Remember, the Vikings traded a lot to go up and get him. A lot of people thought he was the best edge rusher in his draft class, and we're seeing, Jared Verse came in and was great with the Rams last year. People thought Dallas Turner was going to be better than him. You add another weapon for Brian Flores to mess around with, that'll be a problem. I mean, that this defense, it can really be a problem. And all the signs right now are that they're playing out of their minds. That the communication is top notch. Obviously, they have athletic freaks all over the place, and even the cornerback group that I was concerned about with Isaiah Rodgers and Byron Murphy, Jeff Okudah has actually been the number 3 guy so far, not Mekhi Blackman. So we'll see. And there's another guy who's getting yet another chance in his career, 4th team in 4 years, Jeff Okudah. But this Vikings defense, they have potential to be really good. It just goes to show that the depth of this roster, it's pretty sweet if you're a Viking fan. And we'll see if it all comes together or not. There's worlds where it don't. There are going to be worlds where it does. And in the world that it does come together, it's going to be a really fun year. And I know a lot of people have been talking negatively about JJ lately and the Vikings' chances, but I'm not one to bet against Kevin O'Connell. And when you have a coach as successful as he's been early on, Kevin O'Connell's been there 3 years, guys. He's won 13 games one year and 14 games another. And the other one was he was 6-4 when Kirk Cousins was playing the best football of his career when he got hurt, after a bad start where they should have won a couple of those other games. So, this is probably the most talented roster he's had outside of the quarterback position. That means something. But if he can, I'm excited. All right, let's move on to the Packers here. I'm going to try and focus in really on like one story per team right now. We'll see if I bounce around. But there was one that, I was in the car with my dad yesterday, and I hadn't looked at much information from over the weekend. At this point, he's like, did you hear what they're saying about Dontavian Wicks? It's like, no. No, I haven't so far. He's like, apparently he's been a monster at camp. They're calling him the neck. They're saying he could take a Davante Adams like year 3 leap. So immediately, hearing this, not very happy. I mean, I'm sorry. I'm not unhappy for Dontavian Wicks. I'm just like, yeah, it would be nice if the Packers didn't get Davante Adams again. So I Googled the article, and it was written by, who was it here? I just want to make sure by Freddie Boston on Lombardi Ave. He said, "Forgotten Packers wide receivers soaring toward Davante Adams level breakout." It's a really good title. Well done. Like nice job drawing me in on that. And he wrote, the arc was step 1, promising rookie season. Step 2, disappointing follow-up season marred by a lot of drops. And Davante Adams, if you look at his year 1 to year 2, or year 1 and year 2, 38 receptions, 446 yards, 3 touchdowns. 50 receptions, 483 yards, 1 touchdown. And then in year 3, when he took that leap, 75 receptions, 997 yards, 12 touchdowns. That's when he became Davante Adams. And, Davante Adams, in a way, his career kind of reminded me a bit of when I was looking at Chris Carter, because Chris Carter was another guy who didn't really get going till let me see. Chris Carter. Am I misremembering this? Chris Carter got going when he was a little bit, 26 in Minnesota, 26 years old. He had 962 yards. That was his breakout, really. But then his first 1,000-yard season was 28. But Davante Adams, I guess he was 24, so maybe not quite the same. But it took a little longer than most guys to break out. We're seeing dudes now like 21 years old to come in and just be dominant. Davante Adams was very good. Andy Herman said, "Wicks looks fantastic, getting open per usual, catching everything thrown his way." I actually thought there was a great quote from Wicks, who just said, "I know I can catch the ball." When Packers fans have really been getting on this receiving group for the right reasons. There were a lot of drops last year. I just thought the quote, "I know I can catch the ball," everybody else does too. You just can't get caught up in the outside noise. That was just funny to me. And Wicks attributed a lot of last year's failures. He said week 1 didn't play particularly well. The field was really bad. He dropped the ball a lot. And that just kind of mentally messed with him for a lot of the year. And this year, he feels like he's in the right spot mentally. Now, that's great. At the end of the day, though, you do have to go out on the field and execute. We can say all we want about the field not being good. And you just can't, at the NFL level, you really can't let those games bleed into another one and have one bad game impact your next. You sort of have to have that closer mindset. I'm not a wide receiver in the NFL. I wouldn't catch a pass in the NFL. I'm not trying to put a guy down here. But Dontavian Wicks has a lot of potential. And he's a great route runner. He's great in separation. He was number 2 in the league last year in separation. This is a guy that gets open, and that matters. I mean, we're talking about highlights all the time, and Tyreek Hill blazing speed. This is when it was Asante Samuel was saying, Chris Carter only got open and got first downs. Like he didn't. What? That's what you're a receiver, right? Get first downs, getting open. That's massive. It's not all about the long ball. It's not all about the highlight. And Dontavian Wicks can get open, and if he's able to. I'm not going to say Davante Adams leap. Maybe in terms of the statistics for 75 receptions, 1,000 yards, that is a leap. But if there's a world where he can elevate his game there, and this scary world for opponents of the Packers is one where Wicks and Reed and Golden and Kraft, all of them kind of take this or have this elevation together. That's when things start to become pretty scary if you're playing the Green Bay Packers. But all the signs right now are that Wicks is playing great. And I think that for the rest of the NFC North is concerning. It's not a scary thought right now because it's still training camp and everyone's great. But it's something to keep an eye on because there are a lot of really talented receivers in this Packer pass catching group. And if just one of them separates themselves and makes it really does. Rising tides lifts it all, So I can see a world where Dontavian Wicks having a bit of a breakout here, and that would also make Romeo Doubs more tradable. So that could be an interesting storyline as the season comes on, depending on what's happening there. But yeah, that was something that caught my eyes. Dontavian Wicks has been really good so far at training camp. Not much from Jaden Reed, but Dontavian Wicks has been a storyline that we're really not hearing too much about, other than if you're really tapped into the Packers. The other couple things I just want to say about Green Bay is McManus apparently has just been on fire. As of this recording, he hasn't missed a training camp. Obviously, that as a Viking fan, I value the importance of a kicker. obviously Packer fans over the past few years value the importance of a kicker, maybe more than most other teams do and should. So I've always thought, put aside his personal stuff, I've always thought Brandon McManus is a total beast. So when they signed him, I expected him to be really good. And it's not surprising to me at all. The last thing I want to say is, checks out. Matt LaFleur did say regarding Jordan Love recovering from his injuries, I think usually you can move a little better if you don't have a knee or a groin. Yes. Like that's what we've been saying this entire time. For people who don't believe in Jordan Love or who are upset with his performance from last year, it's hard to move around when you have a knee or a groin injury lingering all year. And if you're going to see this 2023 version of Love, a lot of it will probably be because he's not dealing with these hamperings that he had last year. Okay, so I probably should have done the Bears after the Vikings because the stories are a little more closely aligned here. So I'm going to put the Bears right here. And for all the sunshine and rainbows that have been coming out of Vikings camp and Packers camp and to a degree Lions camp, who just don't have as much going on, frankly, it has not been the same story with the Bears. And you kind of feel bad a bit. You have to laugh a little bit, but at the same time, we can't get too down on them. And by we, I guess I mean if I were a Bears fan. But right now, at this point in time, Ben Johnson is coming in. He's establishing his new offense, and Caleb has struggled a lot. Like these are the days summed up. Day one, interception on the first play, scolded by Ben Johnson for lining up improperly during 7-on-7s. Day two, threw a pick in their first 11-on-11 to Tremaine Edmonds. Johnson pulls the entire offense off the field and puts in the backups. Day three, intercepted twice, once by Jaquan Brisker and then by TJ Edwards on an underthrown ball in the back of the end zone where Caleb just didn't put enough loft on it. And allegedly during 7-on-7s that day, Caleb missed 8 consecutive throws. So that's not good. Everyone agrees that's not good. And the reaction that you're getting, even my boss, Colin Coward, came out. Colin's great at these quotes. He said, he was sold as a generational talent. We were all hoping it'd be this generation. How long do you want us to wait? Quarterbacks in 2025 are a bit like streaming shows. If you're not getting me early by the second episode, I'm out. He's got to be good by early October. That's the narrative that you're seeing a lot of people take on Caleb right now. It's very popular that when you have training camp struggles, you're going to come out with overreactions of, this isn't good. This needs to get corrected now. And even Bears fans are starting to see, Bears fans who are, big believers in this season are saying, okay, is 3 days concerning? Should this not be happening right now? Dan Orlovsky came out and he said, it's going to take years for Caleb to understand Ben Johnson's offense. And that might be true, to master it. But this is kind of part of the process. You hear Ben Johnson come out and he's talking about how they're like reworking and rewiring Caleb Williams. He's in the shotgun a lot. He's been comfortable there, they said. He's comfortable in tempo. And now Ben said there's shifts, there's motions, there's a lot more going on mentally than there's ever been for him. At some point, he'll slow down. He's going to have to catch up. His physical ability will take over from there. But right now, because mentally it is what it is, he's playing a little bit slower than what he's capable of. This is day 3, guys. This is 3 days we're talking about, maybe 4 about at this point. Let's slow down for a second here. I know we put out the video that said are the Bears doomed? And I actually felt kind of bad doing that because that was the question we posed. But the reaction, the response that we had in the video was, we think the Bears are fine. Maybe they have high expectations for Caleb that are too high. But we're talking about a few days of training camp, and we still have a whole half the summer to go, or most of the summer to go. It's still preseason games. There's still a lot of learning that Caleb Williams needs to do. The same way that I said we can't really judge people till you put on the pads and play in a regular season game. You also can't really put too much stock into, all right, they've been mentally preparing this whole time, rewiring the footwork and stuff. Let's give them a couple weeks, right? Or let's give them a week before we start judging. I mean, Caleb comes out and has a great practice tomorrow. different story. Tomorrow it's, hey, Caleb lit the world on fire. Watch out for the Chicago Bears. So I feel like a lot of people have been too negative about Chicago this whole offseason. I want to be careful when I say that. Everybody's been really positive about Chicago this offseason, but it seems like recently a lot of people who don't like Chicago, which makes sense, have been coming out and saying negative things, which is leaking into other people's opinions about, oh, this is too much too early. Oh, Caleb is actually not that good. And I think it's leaked into me speaking about Chicago as well, where I'm starting to focus so much on these negative storylines that I'm not giving the proper patience to the situation. This is a year one head coach with a very complicated offense who most people agree is one of the best play callers in football. So maybe, as opposed to saying on day 3 of practice that his, stud second-year quarterback, or hopeful stud second-year quarterback if you're a Bears fan, doesn't have it and can't handle it, maybe give him a little bit of time to work this thing out. If I'm remembering correctly, it did not start off sunshine and rainbows in the Jordan Love era. It did not start out sunshine and rainbows in the Jared Goff Lions era. Maybe it will for JJ. Yeah, that would be nice. But let's just slow this down a little bit. Last thing is the Lions, and there's not a particular storyline jumping out the same way that JJ McCarthy and the Vikings or Caleb and the Bears. The Wicks one, I guess, was kind of manufactured a little bit more, but it's not as obvious as the other two with the quarterbacks. But all things considered for Detroit right now, I'll just kind of run through it a little bit. DJ Reader, they're saying, is looking awesome, making everyone on the defensive line better. The battle for center between Graham Glasgow and Tate Ratledge has been, I guess, pretty close because no one's standing out. Said Ratledge looks, a little bit stronger and better suited for in the run game, and isn't quite there yet mentally, while it's sort of the reverse with Glasgow. So we'll see. I believe both of them will wind up playing, starting on the line. We just don't know who will be center. And then Sam Laporta is actually, I guess I fell into the trap of putting too much fantasy stock into Sam Laporta, where he had, what do you have, 2 touchdowns last year or 1 touchdown? Let's see, not Sam's Club near Lakeport. Sam Laporta stats. Why did I think he had 1? He had 7 touchdowns. He had 726 yards and 7 touchdowns. Maybe it just felt like he had 1 because I had him in fantasy football last year, and it was brutal. But Sam Laporta had a really good season. The more you look into it, and because of the mouths to feed, so to say, in Detroit, he took a bit of a step back in terms of his share of the wealth. And this year, it sounds like early on, at least, John Morton, their new offensive coordinator, is looking to get him the ball a little bit more. And he's been awesome. From everything you're reading, he's running away from people, making people miss in the open field, catching everything. It could be a scary reminder for the NFL if Sam Laporta comes out and has a big couple games to start the year where a lot of people are forgetting him. I believe. Yeah, because you have Amon-Ra. Jamison Williams is someone that a lot of people are intrigued by. The running backs are sensational. Jahmyr Gibbs is getting proper hype for potential offensive player of the year. And Laporta's kind of taken a back seat, both in the production last year and the hype coming into this year. So just another one of those really scary weapons. He's improved as a blocker, everyone's saying. Sam Laporta, I hope not, for the sake of the rest of the division, but Sam Laporta could be someone who reestablishes himself quite quickly in people's minds. Not saying that he needs to because of his play, but just because of the opinion people have on him right now. Sam Laporta, he's been a stud so far at training camp with the Lions, and it's going to be. Man, we've been talking about the Lions a little bit recently. We had a video do pretty well about Dan Campbell shutting down practice, but I really do think that this is at this, to me, I might put them as the number one team in the NFC. I've been kind of wrestling with that question. They're going to be scary. And one other kind of fun story here. They said Grant Stewart came over from the Colts as a special team specialist, wasn't expected to make the team, and he's been unblockable, they said, in special teams coverage. And he's actually been so good even at linebacker that some people think he might challenge for the starting spot. I don't know a lot about the Lions. I don't know a lot about Grant Stewart, but just one of those cool training camp stories of somebody who's taking advantage of an opportunity with Malcolm Rodriguez out. We'll see whether or not he is able to contend actually for the starting role there. I'm sorry if there's not enough on the Lions there, but the storylines, let me see. Is there anything else? I guess we'll react a little bit later to it today/tomorrow. But yeah, the Lions so far, things seem to be going well, and they seem to be really dialed in on what's ahead, especially, as these guys return from injury. It's going to be a scary, scary unit there in Detroit. So we'll see how that goes. All right, a quick NFC North reaction to the opening days of training camp. I'll be back later. Well, later today I'll be recording, but tomorrow we'll be back, me and Jack, going over some of the big storylines, buying or selling some of these storylines that have been coming out. And it's underway, man. I mean, this is the fun part about the football season is obviously football is back. And then when you work in sports, Sunday becomes the sixth work day of the week. And there are pros and cons to that. You can't complain too much. We're just talking sports. So it's good to be back, and it's going to be a lot of content. So we'll see you soon.